All right, it's the Pop Tower Podcast, episode 41. Yes, we're now in the 40s. We're one away from the answer to life, the universe, and everything. I'm Peter W. Dawson.
I'm James Bullock.
And we're here to talk about television. And I think we'll slip a movie in there.
Yeah. We're in a hurt.
Yeah. All right, so it's the 2018 TV recap, and I think we've actually got a fair amount of actual television this time. But I want to start to talk on a more somber note about some cancellations that really bummed me out. So I'm going to start with NBC, one of the kind of a sleeper comedy that I don't think was ever really given a proper chance. Great News. I don't know if you ever saw it.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it got canceled. It was one of those shows that I wanted to look at and never just got around to it. Yeah,
because it's essentially, it was an attempt to do 30 Rock, but on a news show.
Right.
Because it was Tina Fey again producing. She wasn't starring, although she did have a recurring role in the second season. And instead it focused on Briga Heelan, which was a really interesting choice because I hadn't really seen any of her stuff before, and she was really funny in this. And then, so she's like the producer who's trying to manage it, and then the big twist is her mom is an intern. And her mom is played by the legendary Andrea Martin. So it's like, oh no, my mom. And she's like, zany mom, like you do. And then, they're producing a new show called The Breakdown, which stars John Michael Higgins and Nicole Richie, of all people.
Wow.
Like, the show is a fascinating cast. And then Horatio Sands and Adam Campbell are supporting roles. And it was just it was very much, I wouldn't call it exactly like 30 Rock, but it was definitely in a similar vein, and I really think if it had kept going, it would have filled that niche for people. So, I was really disappointed it got canned.
It's one of those casualties, man. It's always that one show that you expect to actually have some sustaining power, and it just doesn't make it for some reason.
Yeah, well, in this case, they started airing it in April. Network television...
That's a terrible time to start a new show.
I know, and at least they aired in order. We all know what happened with most Fox shows. But I think there's a certain service that actually canceled a couple of shows that we liked.
YouTube?
Yeah. No. Oh, it canceled all of our shows. Netflix.
Every time we talked about one.
I know, oh man. Everything Sucks, which we talked about earlier this year.
Yes.
Pretty great show. Only one season. It was a really interesting kind of subversion and, just kind of a general mesh of
90s pop culture and the fact that they left it on such a big cliffhanger was the most disappointing part.
I know, and then we lost 3 Marvel shows for sure. The other 2 are probably going to be gone.
Yeah. They got about one
Daredevil,
season each.
Iron Fist, and Luke Cage, yeah. I mean, we're getting Punisher next, and that's probably not going to get a third.
No, it's pretty much over after that.
Yeah. And one of the ones we never talked about that I really liked, they ended the Dreamworks Dragon series.
Yeah.
Which, that one ran its course. Because, that was 6 seasons now.
Right.
I mean, it can be hard to sustain that type of thing. I mean, I understood why they canceled another DreamWorks production, Troll Hunters, in part because it starred frickin' Anton Yelchin. So it was really kind of hard to, sustain that. Plus, the storytelling on that show, it was clear, basically had a limited shelf life to begin with.
Exactly.
So, that was fine. Ditto, they canceled some of the really good animation stuff because they also canceled Voltron.
Yeah, that was surprising.
I haven't seen the final episodes, so I don't know if they've formally wrapped it up or if it's just it's over. So I couldn't tell you for sure, but I got the impression it was actually ended rather than canceled.
Right.
I unfortunately do not have confirmation. I'm going to quickly look that up, but while I'm doing that, the other one that we haven't really touched on, House of Cards.
Yeah.
Boy, I can't imagine why that got a final season.
I was about to say, there was one show that I think everybody exactly knew why it was going down.
Yeah. Right, no, because the Voltron, the final episode, just aired in December.
Okay.
And, it was the 8th and final season. I'm going to double check and see if it... Yep, Yep, that sounds like it actually ends.
Okay, that's reasonable then.
Yeah, because, I mean, that just came out on the 14th of December, so I just haven't gotten to the final season.
That's reasonable then.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's a lot of others, before we started recording, I talked about a show I only got to that aired in 2017. But, no, Voltron, oh, man. Like, that's a show that should always give you hype for television reboots of series, especially ones, like, even Americanized, because they really did it right. And, I mean, you can't say that about a lot of things. Like, I still don't know how to feel about the She-Ra reboot. Because, look, the 80s animation show was stiff. The characters frequently kind of looked the same. They were made to sell toys, and the toys all had big hair, so the characters all had big hair, and it looked weird. So they had more freedom with designs this time, but the Steven Universe animation, after having very realistic character designs, does bug me.
Yeah.
It's I don't think it's premiered yet, but the Thundercats Roar thing, after we had the more realistic designs from the previous reboot of Thundercats, that also bugs me, because it's like, I hate going from realistic to cartoonish, especially when they're still trying to do it seriously.
Yeah.
I think Roar is meant to be more of a comedy, so that'll probably be fine. But I mean, it still bugs me. But it's not like, oh, my childhood's ruined or whatever. It's like, or you just made a terrible mistake. It's like, that's just weird. I mean, I've made peace with Teen Titans Go. Do you want to use that as a segue?
Oh, man. Well, one of the bigger name shows that neither one of us were excited about.
No.
But I will say, it's one of those shows that made a terrible first impression, made a terrible last impression, but in between was actually not bad.
Yeah, so just to be clear, we're talking about Titans.
The DC streaming service version.
Yeah, dear God, that first impression was awful.
Okay, first of all, everybody knows about the infamous F Batman scene.
Yeah.
But how it plays out on the actual show is actually worse than the trailer.
I know. Like, everyone's like, oh, no, it makes sense in context. No, it's terrible in context.
It's one of those things, like, when you're, like, been scolded by an adult and you walk away and say something under your breath? Like, that's how it is.
It's just, if there's a weakness in the show, for the most part, it is the Dick Grayson storyline.
His character is the worst part of the whole show for me.
Yeah, like, I'm not the biggest fan of, like, Raven. They still kind of nailed some of the core tenets. Starfire was okay. I was expecting to hate Starfire.
Same here, but they did a good job in trying to emphasize just how conflicted she was in her journey. I'm not going to spoil too much about the character, because her character arc is pretty much throughout the whole season. But the fact is,
she's more interesting than the 2011 comic reboot of her character.
Very much so. Yes.
Oh, what? We're just gonna have sex? Cool depth, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, but as an overall, it was funny because she had like the biggest backlash attached to her before the show even aired, until like the whole F Batman thing. And I think they handled her character very well for the circumstance that it came up with. Beast Boy, however, I feel so bad for him, because he's like, they introduce him right at the end of the first episode. Then you don't see him for the first quarter. Then he shows up in actually one of my favorite episodes of the season.
I can't remember which one that was.
Which was the Doom Patrol tease.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
I love that. That was a great episode. That was like the first episode I watched. I was like, oh, they're really finally getting their feet underneath them, which is funny because like the best episodes were the ones that was kind of like cut away from the main story.
Mm.
Except for the oddly placed, Hawk and Dove timed episodes. Like, I understand why they did them when they did them, but
yeah, and like there was some neat stuff in there,
right? But it was one of those things where this felt like just bad placement. Like, they had this one episode, like, I think it was the second episode when they introduced the characters, and then it wasn't until maybe the 10th episode when they had the big flashback episode featuring them. so it was like we had this big cliffhanger, and then you have to wait a whole bunch of episodes to get kind of like a follow-up, which actually comes off of another cliffhanger, and you have to wait another episode to find the follow-up, which doesn't really give you a follow-up.
Look, they were a little confused about what episode order they were going to air it all in. It was just kind of, what a tangled mess we weave. Like, no. Overall, I wouldn't say the show is as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Oh, it's so much better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, like I didn't really force myself to watch it until like I kept on hearing everybody. I think it was episode 10, and everyone seemed to like.
Oh yeah. I thought it was a really good episode, just badly placed in the overall narrative. That was my thing.
That's absolutely a fair criticism, and honestly, one I didn't really think about because, like I said, I was kind of begrudgingly watching the whole season, and for someone who was doing that, I'll say it was still better than I expected, but I don't know if we needed this, honestly.
No, that's the biggest thing. It's just
it's still it's just trying too hard.
Yeah. I think it was one of those things where, especially in certain aspects, it's trying to be so edgy.
Yeah,
and it just
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it just comes across cheesy.
Well, what kills me too is like Jeff Johns is one of the major. He pushed the Batman stuff,
right?
And like that doesn't strike me as something he would normally do.
Yeah.
And did getting the freedom to drop an F-bomb suddenly make him dumber?
Yeah.
I still don't think he's...
No, I was just thinking that, like, for, like, the final episode, it tied greatly into the narrative. But, like, it took 11 episodes to get to the point of understanding why.
Yeah, and it's just not that good.
Right. Like, that's the crutch that you use.
I know, like... Yeah, it feels like a Band-Aid that's trying to stop a leak. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Finger in the dike.
Yeah.
Speaking of trying to stop leaks, do we want to move on to Westworld Season 2?
Oh, man!
How was that for a transition? We talked about this a lot already, but I just want to touch, like... Even looking back on it now, I still like Season 2 quite a bit.
Oh, I really did. I know there were some faults, and I know one of my favorite episodes was actually one of the ones that like kind of perturbed you, which was that big samurai segment where they like kind of went on a little bit too long.
Yeah, like that was a good episode, and it was also a bad episode.
Right. It was just one of those things. Like as a standalone episode, it was really good, but for the overall narrative, it was just why?
Yeah, like speaking of stuff that interrupts the narrative way too much.
Yeah.
Like. Would have been a cool, like, one-off mini HBO movie or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
it could be pretty much like the equivalent of a Black Mirror Bandersnatch. Like,
oh yeah,
that would be it.
That came out before the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of, like, want to just use that as a quick segue because we didn't really did you get a chance to go through that at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm definitely going to save that one for the next one. I'm definitely want to talk about that.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. I guess we can do that. Yeah, let's just say that was awesome.
Yeah.
Black Mirror, still probably one of the best. Even the worst episodes of Black Mirror still have some good stuff in them.
Very much so.
Like, even the ones I kind of hate. Like, I think it was before Season 3. It's like, oh, all the episodes are good. It's just which one's your favorite. Season 3 came out, I'm like, there's a couple bad ones. Season 4 came out, oh, there's definitely a couple bad ones.
Yeah.
But I'm still like, no, they still got something. Yeah, but bouncing up Bandersnatch, do you have something else you want to dive into next?
Oh man, well another one of the bigger ones. I don't know if you watched this one that premiered this year was Mayans MC.
No, I actually missed that one.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest Sons of Anarchy guy, so
although we know someone who is.
I know. I'm shocked he wasn't like singing the praises of it so much more than he did. Really,
he did a bit. We both know a guy who usually called Sons of Anarchy the best show on TV, and he was. I wouldn't say he was too far off. I mean, Sons of Anarchy was a pretty great show.
Right.
There was some meandering. There was a whole meander.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem is that when we start getting to the later seasons.
Yeah, but they definitely realized when they were in the end game of that show.
Yeah, they definitely did.
And so, yeah, how do you think Mayans stacks up to that?
I was surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did. I was kind of like looking at it from the perspective of, oh, this is a spinoff. It's not going to be, even though the people that are associated with it are associated with the original, is the fact that I just thought that, you kind of like dipping into the same well a little too much. And no, it actually did a really good job. It set, like, I think like 4 years after the last season of Sons of Anarchy. And there's a couple of very interesting twists, especially at the end, that tie into the overall universe that I absolutely adored. Like, just really good stuff. But the main thing about it is the fact that you had like this whole storyline of not just that they're a motorcycle gang, but one of the characters is actually trying to work with the government, and it's just a nice little twist on the whole thing that I didn't expect, and I really thought it was a great first season. It's only like 10 episodes, so it's a really easy watch.
Yeah. No, it definitely sounds like it.
Yeah, I definitely am looking forward to the second season.
Well, yeah, speaking of easy 10 episode watch, I just realized there's one we should probably quickly touch on.
Okay.
Better Call Saul.
Oh, man, yeah.
Yeah, because, man, that was an interesting season.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird, because if you watch an individual episode, it keeps feeling like nothing much happens, but you're getting good character insight. And then when you go through the whole season, you're like, oh, no, actually stuff happens.
That's one of the best things about Greg's work, man, is the fact that you just look at it bit by bit, and you see these little pieces coming together, but you don't really notice it until the very end.
Yeah.
It makes you want to rewatch the whole season over just to see what you picked out or pointed out at the beginning that you didn't notice until the very end.
Yeah, and like this is a show where I think it benefits more from not being binged.
Yeah.
Like, just because when you have more time to digest every episode, you start to appreciate what made them unique. Like, I would say this is probably the slowest season. And if you're not invested at this point and you don't care about the Breaking Bad storyline that's leading to,
just give up.
Yeah, because at this point it's basically going full tilt. Hey, we're headed towards Breaking Bad. Like, we've probably only got 1 or 2 seasons left.
I'm thinking maybe we're getting very close to the last season. I think that this may be the last season coming up. I think they might stick to the 5-season format. That
would be good. I would be fine with that. Although, like, they were weird with Breaking Bad, where it was supposed to be 5 seasons, but then
they did the split.
If he did the second half of season 5, it was just the final season on the DVD,
right.
And I'm like, well, that's a lie. That's about when I stopped buying DVDs, by the way. For some reason, I knew, though, I was going to need Breaking Bad again.
Right.
I'm rid of some of my other TV show DVDs, but not Breaking Bad.
It's funny, like, I still collect a few, but it's nothing like it used to be. And that was like one of the last ones I did like a full series collection on. And Walking Dead killed me, though. For some reason. I think it's just the overall seasons.
I still got Game of Thrones. Like, Game of Thrones is probably my last holdout. And after that, it's probably almost entirely going to be stuff that's hard to find.
Right.
Rare anime. You know, like, I'll get, like, the original Kino's Journey, which isn't on Crunchyroll. Don't know if you can use that for a segue at all. No?
No, we can.
Alright, well, do you have something on your list, or do you want me to go to mine again?
No, go to yours.
Okay, yeah, well, speaking of Crunchyroll. Yeah, I couldn't remember if you had, like, so we watched quite a few anime this year. We even talked about a few. Like, we talked about A Place Further Than the Universe.
Yes. And speaking of Crunchyroll, have you seen the anime award list?
Yeah.
And some of the stuff we've talked about are on that list, including...
What a shock.
Including Place Further Than the Universe.
Yeah, which is understandable.
Yes.
And of course, we never really talked about it, but we had a new season of My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
Which, it's kind of a weird season because it stops right as the next storyline gets going, but we know we're getting a 4th season.
Mm-hmm.
And that one had some of my favorite moments. Like, without giving too much away, the United States is snatched.
Yeah.
But it also probably had some of the worst episodes in the show's history.
Yeah, it was a really, really mixed bag of a season.
Yeah. Well, because it had some really bad filler, but it also had some kind of interesting filler. Like, I really like some of the filler they had during the exam, except for the one that just flat out stopped the exam plot.
Yeah.
But because they expanded the exam, they showed how some characters passed parts of the exam that you didn't see in the original source material, which I quite appreciated. And, yeah, in this case, the show also had the introduction of their villain, which has the really haunting music.
Yes.
And at first you feel like it's a little overdone, but then you kind of get an impression of the villain. You're like, oh, no, this makes sense. Man, this guy is actually nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
And it's like, alright, yeah, no, this tracks. And, of course, the Star Wars references continue, and yeah, there's just a lot of really good stuff, especially when they define the rivalry between the main character and his should-be best friend, but it really just hates him.
Yeah, it just doesn't work out. It's never going to work out.
Yeah. It's a thing. But real quick, there's 2 other anime on Crunchyroll I kind of wanted to talk about real quick.
Okay.
Because I don't think we had a chance to really talk about them. Hinamatsuri.
Okay, yeah.
Did you ever watch this?
I heard about it. I didn't watch it yet.
Yeah, because I don't think this is on the best anime list that Crunchyroll just put out.
No,
but, I mean, I
don't think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, places. And another one I'm going to talk about after this is. But Hinamatsuri is possibly one of the funniest Japanese comedies I've ever seen. Because it just made me... It's such a bizarre show, because it starts with this weird flash forward where a woman is using a wooden doll to fight a bunch of monks who also have smartphones.
Right.
And I'm just like, what? Like, one of my favorite bits is just at one point, like, this Buddhist monk, who's speaking proper Japanese, all of a sudden, he's like, my smartphone! Which, even if you don't find, people with Japanese accents speaking English funny, which some people do, like, just the fact that the monk has a smartphone, it's just like, what? Even though it's clearly set in modern day, it still feels weird. And then from there, it goes on to a Yakuza who loves collecting rare and valuable art, suddenly gets visited by a strange interdimensional metal egg-like thing containing his little girl that he quickly is forced to adopt, who has great psychic powers. Or, I don't know what psychic powers, she's definitely telekinetic. And it's like, when she first appears just randomly in his living room, he's like, I'm just gonna ignore that, leaves the room, goes to bed. And the next day, she's still there. And then he's forced to deal with it. And then she's like, alright, you're my dad now. And he's like, And so they become a weird adopted family. And just horrible things happen because he's a Yakuza. She doesn't understand how the world works. Everyone in the world just kind of suffers by their presence.
Right.
And are usually terrible themselves. Like, there's this one little girl that our female lead befriends, ends up going to work at a bar. Like, as a bartender. Even though she's 14 at best. I should have emphasized that earlier. We meet the bartender herself, who is someone the protagonist initially has quite a bit of attraction to, and then he realizes she's a terrible person. And later on he actually has the line, why was I in love with her again? Like, he just completely torpedoes a possible romance subplot. It's great. It's just this bizarre... It's a show that is both very heartfelt and very cruel in the best comedic possible way.
It's a life.
Like,
it's a life.
I know, and there's this argument that the show is basically about suddenly becoming a parent, and it's like, it's very much true, because this girl just literally appears out of nowhere. In this case, extra-dimensional space, apparently. He's like, you're my dad now. And he's like, I guess I have to accept this. But the other one, I don't know, did you watch this one either, Zombieland Saga?
Yes.
Okay, so this one you watched, so you can, thankfully, I don't just have to explain it to you. It's also a comedy.
Yes.
Very much a dark comedy.
Very much so.
But, oh my... One of the first jokes is someone dying, so... And despite that, it's actually a very effective drama.
It really is, especially in the latter half.
Yeah. So, like, the bizarre premise is this guy, this over-the-top, intense guy, who for added points is the Japanese voice of, what's his name? Kira from,
Oh, yeah.
Death Note.
Yeah.
So it's like, very prolific male voice actor doing this ridiculous, over-the-top, screaming in your face Hollywood producer type.
He's a manic producer, as they quote it.
Yep. Yeah, and it's very accurate. He's got the well-dressed clothes, he's got sunglasses. You never see him without his sunglasses on. He's got dried squid. And the reason he's got dried squid is he has resurrected, apparently he's done this, 7 zombies to become his new idol group. Like, Japanese idols, singers. To save Saga, which is a prefecture in Japan.
Yes.
He's bringing them together to save Saga. Thus, Zombieland Saga. I don't know if that's what you're expecting with such a title, especially since there's a pretty popular movie named Zombieland out there. But...
Yeah, that was the thing when I first heard it. I was like, wait, is this an anime adaptation of Zombieland?
It's a very interesting approach.
I know!
And just hilarity ensues, especially, initially the zombies aren't really conscious except for one. and then they are immediately booked on a gig, even though they have like clearly no. It's possible for them not to hide the fact that they're zombies.
Yeah, I love the fact like they give such a great explanation of each zombie.
Yeah, except for one.
Except for one.
Because of course, like they did the thing, you know, you got the cute female lead who's just very put upon and has to deal with all this nonsense.
Right.
You've got the two girls who are competent and like each other, but they also have their own quirks that make them more unique. You have the extra plucky and adorable little one who just, you know, is like the youngest and is always happy. Actually ends up having a very interesting origin,
yes.
as we discover later on. It's a bit over the top, but at the same time, it's very fascinating. And I worry they could have presented it better. But, sorry. And we have the ultra-intense biker who has no singing ability whatsoever. Like, apparently at the age of 19, she took over Kyushu, which is one of the 4 main islands of Japan.
Yes.
It's not the island, but still, you know, because like the main one where Tokyo is and everything, but it's like taking over one of the 4 major islands. It's pretty insane. And of course, one of her major things is worrying about her Tamagotchi.
Yes.
She died in the 90s.
Yeah, she died due to a chicken race in the 90s.
Yep. You know, that all tracks. And I don't want to get into the other two, but I will with the other two. And then we got apparently, I guess geisha?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Or courtesan of some kind from the 19th century.
Yes.
Yeah. Like right around when the Meiji Restoration was coming to an end,
yes,
I think.
Yes.
And then finally, Tai. Just the legendary Tai.
Yeah.
And it's even funnier because Tai's voice actress is freaking Sailor Moon.
Yes, it is.
And all Tai does for both the series is roar, grunt, and otherwise go like, rah.
Yes.
Because, small spoiler, Tai never learns to talk.
Yeah, like the other zombies learn that they are human.
Yeah.
Tai never does. Tai just stays primal the whole time.
Which is all the better because of the art, because they do a Tai episode kind of at the end. And it's pretty great how they handle it. Like, Tai is usually considered one of the funniest characters just in anime in general this year, and it's totally true, because, I mean, so many memes related to this show involve Tai doing something silly while everyone else is trying to do something else.
Right.
And it tracks.
And, of course, you cannot have a zombie anime television show or movie without a George Romero just moment of, hey, there's a George Romero shout-out.
Yeah, the dog is just named Romero.
Really?
And I like the part. It's like, hey, if you want to know how you could die even though you're a zombie, just plays videos of zombie movies. We've been talking about this one a lot in particular, but it is really it got nominated for one of the best anime of the year, along with Place Further Than the Universe
And Devilman Crybaby. Devilman Crybaby. I want to say Devilman.
That was on the Crunchyroll Award.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, because that's on Netflix.
Yep.
And we should also quickly touch on that show. Still holds up even after the end of the season.
I watched it again a couple of weeks ago.
Nice.
Still great.
Yeah, I watched it around Christmas as well.
Yeah. That's our Christmas tradition now. Is watching Devilman Crybaby over.
I'm alright with this. I watched Die Hard as well.
Yeah, that's understandable. Like, you just never thought about like, hey man, we got an anime now that's a Christmas tradition.
What a dark and twisted tradition it is. But I'm fine with that.
Oh,
man. Devilman is still fantastic. Zombieland definitely check it out. Like, even if you don't think you'll care about idol shows, check it out. 'Cause if you like the comedy of the first episode, you're pretty much set.
Yeah, you're into it.
I think it's a show that needs a 4-episode commitment, though, because the 3rd episode is pretty weak.
Yeah, that's true.
But if you like it by the end of the 4th episode, you're definitely locked in. It's only 12 episodes, I believe.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yeah. We're hopefully going to get a 2nd season, though, because they did not resolve a lot.
I want to see a 2nd season of this.
Yeah, like, we don't need a 2nd season of Devilman. We don't need a 2nd season of Place Further Than the Universe. Yeah. I wouldn't mind a 2nd season of Place Further Than the Universe, but we probably don't need it.
They had the story. It's good and isolated, you know.
Yeah, and we know we're getting more My Hero.
Yeah.
Hinamatsuri, the source material is huge, so they could easily do more. And they kind of ended it on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, Zombieland Saga, they definitely need another season, because I wouldn't say things just got interesting because things were already interesting.
But it's just one of those things like they've left it open enough.
Yeah, and there was a bit of a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Do you want to use cliffhanger as a segue for something?
Now I was going to use animated for a segue on this one because this is I know one that we both watched. Bojack Horseman season 5.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. We do like Bojack.
We love some Bojack.
Although, like, what is it? End of season 3 of Bojack is possibly one of the most gut-wrenching and just fascinating, like, seasons of television ever. And then we got some really neat episodes in the 4th season of Bojack as well. So I was really looking forward to the 5th. So how did you feel about it?
I was both in love and distraught.
Yeah.
Like, I think it did the perfect example of how like Bojack was going through. Like I looked at the way his character arc is in this 5th season, and that's for me how the show felt.
That's probably fair. Yeah, it's just it's both enjoyable, but it's definitely not the strongest season.
I mean, it just gets so dark by the end. I think it's just almost uncomfortable to watch.
Oh, it absolutely is.
I think that's one of the biggest problems is like it gets so dark it becomes uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I know Bojack is a way darker show than most people appreciate.
Right.
Freaking miscarriage plots and tragic deaths and just all this other stuff. It's just, yeah, no, it's a dark show, but, whew, even for that.
Yeah, but even for one of the darker episodes, it's funny because as dark as it is you got to give him credit for the ingenious nature of it. Was the midway point, I believe, it was like it's the free churro episode where Bojack's mom dies.
Oh yeah.
And the whole episode is set with him at the pulpit by the coffin.
Yeah.
And he's just spoofing, just telling the story the whole time. He's trying to get laughs. And I mean, it is like, just as you watch it, it just gets progressively darker and darker. Until they give you like a little, hey, there's a little comedy bit at the end. Yeah. That makes you forget just how just terrible of a situation this whole thing is.
It happens. I don't even know what to say at that point.
How'd you feel about the heroine of Princess Caroline, though?
I gotta be honest, I really didn't care for this season that much.
Bro! I
actually thought you were gonna hate it more than me, but no.
I actually, like I said, it was a majority of it I loved. But it just got so dark by the end, it was kind of hard to watch.
It felt like they'd missed a beat the whole season, and I just kind of didn't care. Like I didn't feel compelled to finish the season. Like I was like, oh, I'll catch up when they do season 6.
Oh yeah, just binge it then and then see what you missed out on.
Yeah, and like that's not a good sign. I mean, the show still had one of my favorite jokes of all time with Vincent Adultman.
Yeah.
Back in season 1.
I'm still disappointed he hasn't shown up since.
Well, you don't want to overstay your welcome. I mean, you can't really top. I went to the stock market today and did a business.
Yeah, well, I think they tried to have a character that wasn't that character, but kind of like had one of those type of characters, and this season it just didn't work out as well.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, you can't always predict what's going to work. I mean, Vincent, it's a multi-layer thing. They point out immediately it's 3 toddlers standing on top of each other. And then they just also have a riff on the fact that one of his hands is a broom, but they just... And we never really got that this season.
No, not at all. Like I said, it was one of those things where they had a character built for that, but it was the complete opposite in terms of everybody recognizing what he is.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think that was what hurt the most, is that it was the complete flip of the original idea, and it just didn't work out. Like, that was, to me, like one of the worst parts of the season. Outside of Diane being just like a terrible person by the end of it too.
Well, yeah, that was kind of always the destiny for that character, though.
Yeah, but I mean, they just went like a completely different route than I expected her to go for, like that moment of, oh man, why is she this terrible of a person?
It happens. But speaking of darkness,
okay,
I really don't have anything else to add to that. You liked it. I didn't really. It's But speaking of darkness, Ash versus Evil Dead.
Ah!
Yeah. An army of darkness, if you will. Man, this season really ended on an annoying cliffhanger.
Yes, it did.
And then it got canceled.
Yes, it did.
They really should have just ended it at season 3.
I really thought that was the way they were going to go with it. I thought they were going to end it with season 3, and they was like, no, we got another one going, and then we have this.
Yep. I mean, season 4 had some funny moments, to be sure, and, like, there was a character I was told was going to be a main cast member, and then he dies in, like, 3 episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, that happened kind of in season 3 as well, but, like, in this case, it's like, wait, what? And, of course, what's her nuts from Linda from season 3? She's just not around. Like, do we know what happened to her?
No, I don't think they ever give an explanation.
Yeah, like, there was a weird plot thing where her daughter died in season 3, but then they went back in time, and I guess she was fine, but we never saw her again.
Yeah.
And now, season 4, it's like, everything is great, except everything is not. And then, season 4 in general, thankfully, got pretty clever with some stuff, which helped keep the show from getting too stale, and they actually really took some chances.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Including the long-lost daughter plot,
Yeah.
which really could have been insufferable. But thankfully, they did a pretty good job with it. Especially because they had people handling the situation realistically, when it's like, oh yeah, he just killed somebody with a chainsaw. That's kind of bad. But, I don't know, like, I'm just really annoyed that 1, it got canceled, and 2, it ended in such a awkward, genre-defying cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's kind of been the thing, because if you look at the way...
But, I mean, it's always been
Army
a
of Darkness...
follow-up, though. That was the thing.
I know. It's just disappointing. It's just disappointing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's hard to get invested in these shows anymore.
Yep.
Streaming services and primetime television. The bane of our existence.
Yeah, pretty much. Is that a good segue for you at all? Or?
Oh, no, because like, one of the shows I want to talk about hasn't gotten canceled.
Alright.
But it's one that definitely like is genre bending, and that's Atlanta. Had the second season this year, and of course the Donald Glover created show that I absolutely adore. I thought this season was subtitle Robin season. So like every episode there was like this moment of one of the characters losing something, and not the way you kind of expected it to be. Like easily overall one of my favorite episodes in the entire series thus far was the I believe it was the 6th episode of this season, which was the Teddy Perkins episode.
That might be 5. I'm gonna check.
Yeah, no, it's 6. Yeah, it is 6. It's 6. Barbershop was 5, which I love. Barbershop.
Right. Oh yeah.
Barbershop, I love that one too.
That is a good one.
But
I might take that. I might like that more than 6 actually.
But
it's definitely up there.
It was like back to back. It was hilarious because I know a lot of people actually didn't like episode 5 for some reason. They didn't like Barbershop, and I loved Barbershop. I don't know why. Like people hated on that episode, but I love Barbershop. But the Teddy Perkins episode, man, that was freaky. That was just out of control freaky in the way that it turned out. I'm not gonna spoil too much because this is one of those episodes you have to watch. Really like that one and Barbershop definitely, and especially the what was it, the episode where they go to they have a free show, they have a benefit show they go to, and they walk into a fraternity. And it's the one character that loves the lollipop song, the Laffy Taffy song.
I can't even remember what episode that is.
Either it was episode 9 or episode, I believe it was episode 9 when they go to the college.
It was 9, yeah, it's right north of the border.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh man, that was so messed up.
Look, Atlanta, man, honestly, I kind of didn't like the pilot that much. I remember thinking back, but the first few episodes, once you get a few episodes in, the show is definitely pretty good.
Yeah. For like the first season, for me, it was like that highlight where they did the Montague episode where they did like the fake talk show episode. I was like, okay, now I see where they're going with this. This is on a different level right now, and I just love that kind of stuff. But
That was the 7th episode, I think.
Yeah, it was really, really late in the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't hate on the show that has invisible cars.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Well, what else you got?
Oh, well, speaking of invisible cars, let's talk about a show that has a cloaking device. And let's talk about Legends of Tomorrow.
Ooh.
Yeah, I thought that was the best segue I had at the moment. Which I think will lead to another segue because we're going to touch on something else related to this. Okay, man. Legends of Tomorrow Season 4. It still feels weird to think back and remember how pretty lousy Season 1 was.
Yeah, because I remember we talked about this. And you were like, I'm in it, but it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, and then Season 2 happened. Season 2 was a bit better. It's like, I'm still not feeling like the weird love story and the dude bromance, but I mean, I was getting a bit more into some of the performances. Like, I really loved in Season 2 the fact that, they just had to go meet J.R.R. Tolkien, and we even had, like, this episode where Ray Palmer had to help destroy the thing that made him a hero.
Yeah.
And he seemed genuinely torn up about that. I hated that they undid it a few episodes later just to satisfy the crossover.
Yeah.
Especially since it wasn't a great crossover. Because that was Invasion, which was not so great. But no, in this case, it was an entirely standalone season. They had basically nothing tying them into the crossover event, which we'll probably talk about right after this, because we might as well, before we go on to the rest of our list. And in this case, Legends of Tomorrow, they start dealing with magical creatures throughout time and space.
Yeah.
So what do? They take a page from frickin' Cabin in the Woods, and have the first episode be about a unicorn murdering hippies at Woodstock. And they have a brony joke, and they have just, why would something happen? Why would it do that? And they have people see the people they love when they hallucinate, and of course one of them sees his beloved pet rat, and a giant CGI rat that he apologizes to. Glorious. And then what are they doing in the second episode? Puritan Times, Fairy Godmother, complete with her own soundtrack. And it just got more insane from there. And of course that led to the mid-season finale where Constantine, and to save his gay lover no less, it breaks time, which leads to a universe where the Legends of Tomorrow have been turned into the Puppets of Tomorrow.
Yes.
Which actually makes sense in universe and isn't just a weird timeline zaniness thing. I wouldn't say every episode is still dynamite, and there's a subplot of a couple of people are taking issue with, which I'm totally on board with taking an issue with. I don't want to get into it here, but yeah, in general, this is pretty great. And I mean, of course, the fact that they finally got Thomas F. Wilson to show up.
Yeah.
To have a Back to the Future cast member in a recurring role. Probably the only thing that I really hate that I will mention is they introduced a new character, Mona. She is pretty insufferable.
Yeah.
Although I am intrigued to see what's going to happen with her subplot based on where we left it. Because we left it at a pretty dire spot for the mid-season finale. And the show doesn't come back until April.
Yeah.
So, but it's probably one of the funnier superhero shows on TV right now.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It's one of them that, like I said, at first I was very much indifferent to it. And then you were saying, like, it's gotten better. It's gotten better.
It really has. Like, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but, like, the meta humor is way better. It almost feels like it's trying to be Angel, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, a more meta Angel.
Yeah.
And it does a decent job of that. And we still get some, fun bits, like, there's the one where they have to become camp counselors, so they kind of basically spoof, camp counselors. And we got a Japan Godzilla type episode, although the monster was more like Cthulhu.
Yeah, it
and
was.
Even had tentacles.
It really was.
And of course it had tentacles. Thankfully they didn't really milk that joke too much, because that could have been bad. But we should probably use that as a segue to talk about, because I'm not really that invested in any of the other DC shows right now, on CW anyway. Like I said, I managed to make it through the whole season of Titans, and I'm kind of glad I did. But Flash, Arrow, and Supergirl, I'm not super invested in right now.
Yeah.
I did check out the Elseworlds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was better than Invasion, which is the first of the 3 epic crossovers they've done.
Well, it definitely
they've
wasn't
done
better
3.
than Crisis.
No, Crisis on Earth X, aside from the first episode being way too much about awkward romance subplots, thankfully broken up by pretty good comedy.
Yeah.
It was actually a pretty solid epic 4-part show. In this case, we got a 3-part Elseworlds. They said it was going to be smaller. It was. It was an interesting attempt to do like a parallel dynamic type thing.
Yeah.
They spent way too much time farting around though.
Yeah, it really just felt like they were doing it for the sake of doing it.
And what's weird is because they advertised that Gotham City was going to be a thing, and the Gotham jokes they got were amazing,
yes.
including almost being mugged like 5 minutes after arriving. Which I'm like, yeah, that would probably happen in Gotham.
That would be Gotham.
But they advertised the hell out of Gotham, and Gotham was gone by the end of part 2.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, it did not take long before we moved on.
Yeah, like there was the whole Batwoman thing with why can't I think of her name now? She's actually Amber Rose, something like that.
I'm trying to think of the real name of the actor.
The real name, the actress.
Oh, crap.
I can't think of her name either.
Ruby.
Yeah, Ruby Rose,
yeah.
That's the name. Yeah, from Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were making a big deal about her being on as Batwoman.
And it didn't even matter.
What?
I mean, it didn't really even matter, like, in the grand scheme of things.
Not terribly, no. I mean, like the character was well handled. I absolutely love the part where she basically tries to flirt with Supergirl, because, as you can imagine, well, I'm not the biggest fan of where like they're doing Supergirl and everything right now. I do think the character is still pretty great, and it was amazing seeing her reaction to that.
Yeah.
She's trying to be as polite as possible while trying not to freak out.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, even the most, woke of us would probably freak out if we were straight and the gay person tried to hit on us.
Yeah.
That feels very true to life for me. And no, it's just, but yeah, like the whole reality warping thing, cool concept. And I mean, the guy and one of the guys even says at one point, "You gotta think bigger." And to be fair, he did. But in the end, it was just like, yeah, it just wasn't as good as Crisis on Earth X. Although
they really set a high standard the last time, and it just didn't meet it.
Yeah, even though they were trying to go more intimate and more personal. But, oh man, what they set up for next.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Because they have promised Crisis on Infinite Earths next year. God, I really hope they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But, feeling hype.
I'm giving hype. At least, like, if they have Crisis in the title, maybe that might give us a good indication they might do something really good.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that'd be like the gimmick for them. Like, as long as they have Crisis in the title, it's going to be good.
Hopefully. I mean, it's small spoiler for those who have never read Crisis on Infinite Earths or looked it up. Supergirl and Flash both die in that.
Yeah.
They eventually get better because it's comic books, but they were dead for a while. I think they both came back around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like Barry, I think, came back around 2009? 2008, 2009, and Supergirl, that version of Supergirl came back around 2005 or 2006. Yeah, so they were dead, and Crisis on Infinite Earths was 85, 86, one of the two. So, yeah, they were dead for like 20 years.
Man.
I know, which is an eternity in comic books.
We'll do like a whole
eternity or any of that going to be a good segue?
No, I was going to say, like, you want to do a Spitfire? Just a real quick one now, since we've run pretty long on the TV shows. We got our main ones out the way, I think, though. Yeah,
I just wanted to quickly shout out a couple, or actually, I've been talking a lot. You do a couple real quick.
A couple. Dear White People Season 2, which is on Netflix, hasn't been canceled yet. I think it has been renewed for a third season, so it survived that cannibalism on Netflix.
Yeah, man, for a network that used, or a streaming service that used not to cancel anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was a good season. I think this season gave a lot of the other characters a lot more screen time, which I appreciated. There were a couple episodes that didn't even focus on Samantha as the main character that I thought were actually the better episodes. There was one with Troy Fairbanks' character where he tries to be a stand-up comedian. I thought was just great.
I mean, Samantha's always been kind of a divisive character because she's pretty intense, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you kind of need it for a show that's going to be this frank about stuff, but still.
And then, like the one episode very late in the season where she has a family tragedy that kind of like really changes the complete dynamic of how you're understanding how the friendships that were at the beginning of the series no longer exist. I thought it was a really good handling of the situation. And just the whole barrier idea of, political, social, economical are gone when something like that happens. I thought they handled that very well. Another show that I thought did a great second season was Snowfall. I don't know if you've seen that. It's on FX.
No, I haven't actually seen Snowfall yet.
Yeah, John Singleton created it, and it's pretty much about the crack epidemic starting in 1983, and the lead character Franklin is trying to start his own drug cartel. And,
that'll do it.
And now it's come to the point like the government is really getting involved in it, and they ended the second season like incredibly dark compared to the first season. It was amazing because it's like the first season they ended with him kind of stepping outside in sunny California, and then like the complete opposite in the second season. I thought they did a great job. I'm looking forward to the third season.
So between this and Narco, we have a pretty good coverage of the whole drug cartel stuff in the 80s.
I know!
Oh, man. Yeah, I had no idea what Snowfall was about. It's one of those many shows I'm like, I should get to that at some point.
Yeah, no, it's so many. There's only enough time in the day. That's the problem.
Yeah.
What else do you have?
I want to give a quick shout out to Once Upon a Time, which just wrapped up.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's that show I keep meaning to get into, and then I hear them talk about the lore, and it gets kind of dumb for me. And I'm like, people feel that way about the genre shows you watch, so I always try to give it another chance.
Yeah.
I can't get into it, and it is interesting because like one of my favorite things they did, because I always get so annoyed that they called the story of the Snow Queen Frozen and basically changed most of the plot. They addressed that in the show.
Wow.
Because they have the Snow Queen show up, and it's not Elsa from Frozen. like they still do this weird thing where they have like 2 or 3 different Cinderellas and 2 or 3 different Rapunzels and all this stuff, and that's still weird. But they actually did some pretty good stuff with some of the characters. I was pretty pleased, and for a show that clearly lasted one season longer than it needed to,
right,
they really tried to make the final season matter. So, as a guy who was never really a fan, though, good on that show for defying basically every expectation. And, giving Lana Parrilla a better career. Because she's a delight. And I wanted to shout out to New Girl, which also wrapped up.
Oh, yeah.
Which, it was that show. I remember the first season being incredibly awkward, but also incredibly funny.
Right.
And then I think it was around the third season the show got really good.
Yeah.
Still had some cringy moments, especially when they get... Man, rewatching the episodes before the 2016 election. Oh boy! They probably regret some choices about that. Yeah, there's some Trump jokes that they probably wish they didn't make.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about that. But it was a pretty satisfying conclusion, and I, really liked where the characters ended up and some of the meta humor that show has a tendency to perpetrate.
Right.
I will miss that show, and I'm glad that most of the cast are going on to bigger and better things.
Very much so.
Like, what's his nuts? Was just Jake Johnson was just in Into the Spider-Verse,
yep,
which is probably going to end up being one of our favorite movies of 2018. Small spoiler for next episode. I know you had one more show you wanted to mention.
Well, I had a couple more, but nothing that's really major. I enjoyed American Horror Story Apocalypse this season. I hated the last season. Last season was absolutely terrible. Okay, well, anyway, they tried to, and once again, the whole Trump thing, they tried to focus on that, and, and it was just terrible.
Well, Apocalypse, like I haven't really watched the show, but isn't the whole thing that Apocalypse was basically an epic crossover of all the other?
It is
seasons?
the first season, I believe the third season, all put together. Plus, like a mixture of a few other seasons. Like there's spots here and there, but like the main season was the Murder House season and the Coven season come together for this one.
Interesting.
And they did it in a way that a majority of it is really like a flashback, but they do it in such a good chronological way that it doesn't feel like a flashback. They did a very good job of it. It was a nice return to form. A couple other shows like Who is America I thought was hilarious.
That's got to be real satire there.
Yeah.
Like,
That's some great experimentation for satire there. I gotta give them credit.
Like, you may not always find it funny.
Right.
But you know it's ridiculous. And you know it's, by doing the comedy it's doing, it's holding up whoever they're talking to effectively for ridicule.
Yeah. I mean, the fact is that, there's the obvious ones, but like the one that really sticks out is one of the ones where Sacha Baron Cohen plays a released criminal who's been in jail for all these years, and he's learned how to paint with his feces, and takes his painting to an actual art dealer.
Yeah.
So you have this person who's trying to be as nice as possible.
Well, yeah, because he's got the classic Sav story. I feel like that was taking a pot shot more at left wingers than right wingers, because the show took a decent number of pot shots at both.
Oh yeah. It was very the way they presented it from a promotional standpoint was actually a lot less even-handed than the real show.
Yeah, because they played up the Roy Moore thing,
right?
Which again I don't want to get into because I really don't like making this political, but we're talking about a political show,
right.
So we kind of have to. But I do like the part where it's like, oh, it's a pedophile detector. It's malfunctioning as it's going off. That's a great way to cover your bases. It obviously didn't work because I think the guy said he was going to sue or something.
Yeah.
No shock. But yeah, and then apparently it might have uncovered a secret sex ring.
Yeah, there was a couple of ones that we never saw because of either, like I said, legal action potentially being taken part of, or people actually finding out before it was fully filmed.
Yeah, did the Sarah Palin thing ever?
No, that was one of the ones that they found out about like midway.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it's amazing like how much stuff could be on the cutting room floor. Like they put out a DVD of it, like how much stuff we could see that they couldn't air.
Yeah, like this is probably a good direction for Sacha Baron Cohen's Refuge and Audacity, because he got a lot of flack for what was it? The one where he was playing a brother of an MI6 agent, and somehow it resulted in Daniel Radcliffe giving Trump AIDS.
Yeah.
Which was a really weird,
twist.
Which was really more stupid than funny. But like if you're actually gonna like interview people and obviously satirical stuff and still get them to play along, that's fair. No matter how dumb it is. Like, oh yeah, painting my own feces. Like, you're milking the joke, which may not make it that funny, but the guy's reaction saves it,
right.
And really gives you something to say, which is the main point of, like, this is the problem with satire. It's meant to be comedic, but it doesn't always have to be funny.
Exactly.
This is why I say true satire, because like you look at SNL when they usually turn people to caricatures. That's not necessarily true satire. It's basically just goofing on someone.
Exactly.
Which is, I think, Tina Fey's own words. I don't think I pulled that out of the ether. We're almost at an hour already. But,
I think we got a good list of stuff. Anything else you have?
No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
we've been holding it off far too long.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of TV shows like was like, oh yeah, we should talk about this. Oh yeah, we should talk about this. And we touched on a bunch of stuff we already talked about too.
Yeah, we did it quick though. We did it quick. The ones that we've already talked about.
Yeah. So real quick, we're also going to talk about a movie that came out a while ago. Made quite a bit of money. I don't know if you ever heard of it, Aquaman.
Yeah, that movie about that guy that likes to talk to fish because even when he's being bullied as a kid, the fish know.
Well, yeah, the fish know everything.
Yeah.
You know why?
Why?
They're always downstream.
Ah.
I don't know if that's as good of a pun as I think it is, but I'm still keeping it as mine. So Aquaman is part of the DC Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
and this case follows Jason Momoa, who plays, it's Arthur Curry, right?
Arthur Curry. Just does not fit.
No, he is not an Arthur. Like, this is why I couldn't remember. I'm like, because he's actually doing the role pretty well, but it's just, the comic name does not suit his look at all.
Not at all.
He does not look like an Arthur. He does not look like a Curry.
He definitely looks like a Jason. Like, he looks like a Jason. But not an Arthur. We know what an Arthur looks like after playing Red Dead.
Pretty much, yeah. I probably look more like an Arthur than he does. Hello, Arthur. Hello. And I have a bow tie, even though I've got a fat neck. Fat necks should not wear bow ties. There, I've just reviewed Aquaman. Fat necks should not wear. No, this was a surprisingly pretty movie. Like, that's probably the one thing I really want to harp on.
Yeah, I was so worried about it, considering, like, we've had, Justice League was so bad for the CGI.
Oh, yeah.
Freaking Batman vs. Superman was rough.
Yep.
Like, Wonder Woman was, like, the only one recent.
Yeah. And, like, even then it was still kind of washed out because they've decided the DC films are going to be washed out.
Yeah.
Which, this one was a bit too. Which was really hilarious because it just made Amber Heard's hair look even more ridiculous.
Yes. Somebody literally placed a red crown of just fake hair.
Which is even more hilarious when then you see her dad.
Yeah.
Dolph Lundgren.
Yes.
Is in 2 major films.
Almost back to back for release dates.
November and December, so a month apart. And he's actually pretty good in both of them. He's definitely better in Creed because he got more of a chance to act.
Yeah.
But where in the second one, he just had to make it his beard and hair not look ridiculous. Which in motion, honestly, they didn't look terrible.
It didn't look bad. It didn't look terrible.
I still didn't like it because I don't like the idea. I'm like, why is Dolph Lundgren ginger?
Yeah.
But thankfully, that's not the most distracting thing in this movie. At least around someone's face.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, before we get into more specifics, let me just say, this movie is pretty fun. It's not as good as Wonder Woman.
No.
Like, by far. But it's definitely better than Justice League. I actually enjoyed myself. It's better than Justice League.
It was one of those movies that was surprisingly long and surprisingly short.
Yeah.
It's over 2 hours, but it goes by so fast.
No, it goes through its runtime pretty well. All things considered, it's got some good I didn't even mention Dafoe.
I was going to say Willem Dafoe is the mentor and trainer.
On paper, I should love this movie because it's Dolph Lundgren and Willem Dafoe.
Right.
Like, sadly, they're not the focus. I mean, Willem Dafoe gets way more to do than Dolph.
Yeah, very, very much so.
Dolph has one good scene. He's got another scene where he's fine, but he really doesn't have much to do. And I mean, what's his name playing Ocean Master?
Oh, Patrick Wilson.
Yeah, man, he can do so much better.
That was probably the low light for me.
Really, him?
Yeah, and not just because of him being like a terrible actor or anything. It was just like it felt like he's not that character. Like that's just not him to me.
Oh, he's a really good actor.
Yeah,
I mean, I loved him in Fargo season 2.
Right.
To bring it back to television for a second.
I gotta agree. Like to me, like normal person is him. Like he's him as Ocean Master, and it was one of those things. Like when they said Ocean Master, I was waiting for somebody to giggle.
I know it's. Well, I mean, Ocean Master. Like you're watching a DC movie, it's gonna happen.
Right? Oh yeah, of course.
I mean, for God's sakes, Red Tornado, and I mean, Red Tornado was not in this movie, but I'm just like, DC characters have ridiculous names. Marvel characters do too. I mean, for God's sakes, Lady Stiltman. Let's forget. And I mean, there's also like Calendar Man in the DC universe. Our Man. Is there a guy who just explodes? Like, wasn't there a character just called like the Human Explosive? And that's like he was like a lamer version of Nitro from the Marvel universe. I don't know. There's some weird ones. Like there's this one guy. He shoots fire from his nipples. And they made him a major character in Final Crisis. I mean, DC, you just got to accept it. I mean, this is what I'm saying when I said the name sounded stupid in Once Upon a Time. I'm like, I know other people will find this stupid. Ocean Master and Frickin' Arthur Curry, the Aquaman.
The Aquaman.
Yeah. But, not to mention Black Manta.
Black Manta appears.
Kind of wish he didn't.
Black Manta appears. Oh, how did you
Lord,
like
his helmet.
The crafting of his outfit? That montage.
Like, it's really annoying because Black Manta has a really interesting kind of backstory.
Yes.
Because it's... I could give this away because it's at the beginning of the film. He's on personal revenge because his father got killed.
Yes. And this happens early in the movie, too, so you figure out exactly why he hates the Aquaman.
Yeah. And it's really kind of awesome that like, they do that with a villain. Because it's a very relatable thing. Hey, you killed my dad. And they do it with a villain. I mean, they could have easily done that with Aquaman. They didn't do that in this movie.
No.
One of the, for all the cliches this movie hits, it actually avoids quite a few.
Yeah, I'll definitely give that credit. Like, there's one major cliche involving a certain romance, but then on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's the father-son relationship that I definitely appreciate.
Yeah, like, they actually did a really good job with his, with the Curry men. In general, like, everything going on with that was actually pretty interesting. I mean, it's still ridiculous. It's like, oh yeah, he was living in a lighthouse, and then he had sex with a mermaid.
Yes.
They didn't make a joke like that in the movie, did they?
No, but I mean, it's like the general consensus.
I feel like they should have.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, I'm like, why didn't they do that? I'm like, did I come up with that, or was that in the movie and I didn't remember?
No, it was not in the movie, but it was like one of those general consensus things. Like, oh, he was watching, he saw this mermaid. It's like, really? Somebody was watching Little Mermaid and then they wrote it up?
Hey, Arthur, I heard your dad after mermaid. They could have done that in this movie. Well, they couldn't have said F, but you know.
Yeah, well, did she have a fish head and a woman body? Yeah.
Hey, that was a surprising amount of restraint. Now that I'm just thinking of where they could have taken this. No, it's a pretty fun movie. Black Manta looks really dumb.
Oh my
like, he looks true to comics, he just looks dumb.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, because, I mean, you always get the consistent complaints like, well, why doesn't this look more like the comics?
Yeah, stick to the source material. No, they should have worked against the source material this time.
Well, yeah, it's like Green Goblin in the first Spider-Man movie. He looks like a Power Ranger. But I keep thinking, it's like, if they'd given him a rubber suit, would he even look something like this? Like, this level of terrible? Because, you know, the Defoe connection. But, no, like, the plot's good. The CG, like, the lighting underwater is actually well done.
Very much so.
You can actually tell what's going on. I'm so worried that was going to be a problem.
Yeah, the big climatic underwater war that happened was so fun to watch because you could actually see what was going on.
And it's colorful.
Very much so.
There's color in the DC universe. It's just all under the sea. Because, hey, no shock, the Aquaman movie has a climax underwater. What, really? Next thing you would tell me water is,
I love the fact, like, to me, like, the worst part of the entire movie happened in the desert.
Yep.
And, like, the irony is not lost on me when it comes to that.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And, you know, like, we didn't really talk about, like, Momoa did fine for what he had.
Yeah, he didn't have to do, they kind of had him as gruff Aquaman, you know?
Yeah, like, but just accept it. And then, Amber Heard was actually pretty good as Mira. Which surprised me, because I don't usually consider her to be that talented of an actress. You know?
Yeah, she did okay, I guess.
Like, oh no, she's look, she's no Blake Lively in Green Lantern.
Yeah, that's very true, very true.
Because I mean, Blake Lively still wasn't great in that movie, but she clearly had chemistry with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, no, this was just it was like she was supposed to be like this princess that is kind of lowering her guard, but she was just too wooden to do so.
Yeah, it's they're trying to do, I don't even know how to describe this, but look, whatever they're trying to do, that's probably it. Yeah, that's probably the most accurate thing. Oh man, if they did the spaghetti scene, this movie would have gotten more points from me. I keep thinking about jokes they could have done to make this movie better.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I appreciate the fact that they try to stick to the hard, you know, comic book style and DC Universe style movie presentation, but like there are some moments they could have added some levity to the whole situation. if they wanted to. And like I said, now like looking at it more and more, we can find parts like, okay, they could have made a joke here, or they could have made a crack here. They could have made us laugh a little bit more if they wanted to.
I still can't believe we saw Ocean Master in a DC movie before we saw Guy Gardner.
True.
I mean, you know how I feel about Guy Gardner.
Yeah, true.
Still one of my favorite comic book characters. Come on, we got Deadpool. That took care of one of my favorite Marvel characters.
Yeah.
Let's get Guy Gardner in here. You know, no, it's
solid.
Look, if you want to,
it's an overall solid action superhero movie. That's about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just it doesn't quite have the oomph that like some of the better movies have, but I mean, it definitely was a good effort. I mean, Dolph called it Shakespearean, and I kind of see it.
Yeah.
Although there's less death than a Shakespeare.
Yeah, very much so.
That was another surprising thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, they had so many chances to kill off characters, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Small spoiler, but I'm like, man, I was like, you know, that's kind of a subversion at this point because of how many people constantly die in all this.
Yeah, and especially with some superhero movies in the last couple of years, you know.
Or even DC, they killed Jimmy Olsen as an afterthought.
True.
Hey, that's Jimmy Olsen. He's dead.
Could you imagine if this movie came out like 10 years ago, though?
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Oh, man, it would be getting so much high praise.
If this was DC's initial counter to Marvel, that would have been... Oh, absolutely. But, unfortunately, we live in a post-Iron Man world.
Yeah.
We live in a post-Spider-Verse world.
Post-Thor Ragnarok world.
Yeah. And there's a lot of movies that really changed the genre. Post-Logan.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Yeah. To be fair, not all of these are Marvel Studios directly, but they are still Marvel properties.
Yeah.
Post-Lego Batman.
This came out like right after the Age of Apocalypse.
I know.
DC, man, y'all missed the boat on so many opportunities.
Man, it's a whole thing. Well, but no, it's if you're a DC fan, you should probably like this.
Yeah, I think if you're just one of those people that want to see a nice little popcorn flick, you'll enjoy this.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's definitely a good popcorn flick. Yeah, I would definitely... Yeah, I had fun, and I know China apparently loved the hell out of it.
Yeah.
That was surprising. Like, I haven't checked yet. What is the total Aquaman gross at?
What are we at here? We are at, wow, almost 1 billion.
Really? That close?
Yeah.
Let me see the exact number here.
971.
Yeah. Jesus. Is that Wonder Woman numbers? I think that's higher than Justice League.
I know that's higher than Justice League.
Yeah, let me... Justice League, I think, was 800. No, Justice League was only 600.
Wow, I knew that. I knew that was lower.
Yeah, and how was... I'm double checking. Wonder Woman, I think, was 800. So it might have become the most profitable DC movie. There you go. We didn't even realize it. Wonder Woman, how did that do? Yeah, Wonder Woman was only 800. Yeah. It passed Wonder Woman. I think it's probably partially is because China liked it more.
Yeah.
Somebody get Asia on the horn. We gotta have ideas for sequels. Sorry, I'm tired. Yeah, so I think that pretty much do us for today.
Yeah, and a really good wrap up of all the great and maybe not so great TV shows of 2018 that we've seen, and looking forward to 2019, see what we got, and of course, got a lot of movies to talk about next time.
Yeah, I don't know if we're ever going to talk about these, but I've already got 3 anime on my list.
Okay.
Because the new season, I'll tease these just in case we ever talk about them. Because I got The Promised Neverland on there.
Okay.
Which that has got a huge amount of hype behind it. I think that premieres yesterday or today. We got Girly Air Force, which is apparently an Air Force themed harem show.
Wow.
So they're all pilots. And it's one guy, bunch of girls, but they're in the Air Force. And then we get this other one. It's Magical Girl Spec Ops Asuka, which is a magical girl military show.
Mm.
So I'm intrigued to see where all these go. So there's your tease for a potential future episode. We'll see if any of those shows
make the cut.
Probably won't, but you never know. Well, maybe Promised Neverland if it's as good as people say it is.
Yeah.
But probably not the other two. So I want to thank you as always for being here, James.
Oh, yes. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. And I've been Peter W. Dawson, and until next time, keep your Aquaman in the water.